all squad members, I can't act cool. I like my bitches short and thick and ain't gotta act rude. She won't treat me like I'm the rest, cause I ain't that dude. I see some things as a child, change my thoughts, but try to do right, I'm on their ass and I'm a fucking nigga. If from the side, just don't be lazy, lift your fucking leg up. To all my niggas going through a struggle, keep your fucking head up. Anything you going through, I'ma wait and see, won't last forever. Just stay down and hold your side, don't change the like the weather. If he around me, then he got a ruler, but he ain't trying to measure. I gotta give me some weed to get my thoughts together. Hard in the summer, but my heart cold, so I gotta rock a sweater. We came in this roll it on, so we ain't gon' stay out together. I know I'm blessed, I know my worth, so I can never settle. You can show yourself before you all that time can take. One time to fuck up, and you can't go here. Move deal, I got too many steps to break my whole here. No deal, I won't set my soul in high and go here. I want school to stay loyal to my niggas and my face, they could've go here. It's a new sport, they on my shirt, the bitch a blow head. It's a different dope, that's how it's love, we get the low head. Smoking on some dope, got the culture, got a dope head. I can fit in, come receive a put a bitch in motion. I'm drinking on some shit that change a mood, we call it ocean. Can even hot 30 and they put it back in cocaine. And I bought them bean, we got smoke, they get it good. White girl playing with a little lens and no hand. But look at her slipped up and lost a baby, she was 16. Ain't doing shit for free, I want 200 for a 16. Luck with a damn 30 clip with a red bean. She make it hard for me cause all that niggas sold a big dream. Don't you don't talk behind no shit you saying that you ain't me. All my niggas sliding on what's up, you can play me. I see the picture clip, my left a movie like it's HD. I'm up 50 get streets and I ain't got no proof of say cheese. Not a little way. When I up it, better say Jesus. Like taught me some legend of the school of home degree. I'm just trying to take care of my people, how you hate me. When I look, I caught with that youth, this shit was crazy. Bitch, the trap baby shit don't do that.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I want to thank you guys for joining us for yet another episode of the Get Hooked podcast, episode number 41. All right, so today we're going to be talking investing. Once again, as always, this is your boy Hook.
And good evening, everyone. This is your girl, Chrissy Chris.
All right, and we have a couple of panelists here who are going to share their expertise. And we're going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. So, guys, go ahead and take it away. Tell the people who you are.
Rosalind, you want to go first?
Unmute yourself, Rosalind.
There I go. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for having me on the show with you today. I am Rosalind Glenn. I am the president CEO of Destiny Wealth Advisors and Consulting. I have been in that business for 15 years. This year makes 15 years. I am a financial planner, and I work with my clients in helping them to reach their financial goals and objectives, whatever that is, and the relativity it is to them. I've been in the industry for about 30 years. And I am a registered investment advisor with Prudential for the last 9 years. I think that financial planning is my life purpose. I enjoy what I do, and I'm looking forward to having this conversation today.
All right, good stuff.
Awesome. Good evening to you all. Thank you so much to Crystal. Thank you so much to Daryl. My name is Jerome Goodwin. Also go by Rome. I work for one of the top leading financial services firms in the nation. I have been in the financial services and accounting space for close to 10 years now. Learning and development is actually my space. So I work with a lot of financial professionals and advisors and junior advisors on training them on various platforms to help them support their clients. Happy to be with you all.
All right, good stuff. I really appreciate you guys for joining. For the audience, make sure that you guys grab a pen, something to write with, piece of paper, because we do expect some gems to be dropped. So take as much notes as possible. Also, make sure that you react, make sure that you share, make sure that you subscribe. And also, if you have any questions or anything, make sure you comment. We'd like to hear your concerns and your comments as well. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing cracking, man. So we'll go ahead and get started. Yeah. So I want to start with a very. This is really my question, to be honest with you. Investing seems extremely complicated. So how do I even get started?
Rosalind, I'm gonna go to you for that one. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, happy to take that call. Most of the time, this is a question that I ask people. Have you ever participated in your company's 401k? And most of the time, the answer is yes. And so when they say that, I say, well, you are already investing, because that's what that is. You are giving money to a cause, a company, and you're asking them to invest that, meaning to buy stocks, to buy shares, or stocks, bonds, whatever it is, real estate. You can invest in real estate. If you've bought a piece of real estate, that is a type of investing. Sure, it provides a home for you, but it's also you investing. So investing is what the way I like to, I guess, define it is you giving somebody or putting your money to work for you. In a nutshell, you are telling your money what you want it to do for you, and you're hoping that it will give you back a return. Most of us are familiar with working hard for our money, but we don't always let our money work hard for us. And so, in short, investing is putting your money to work for you. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about how that happens, so I won't go there yet. But in short, investing is making your money work for you.
And I'll
That's
echo.
really big and very, very important, because I don't feel like, I know we all want money. We all want to be millionaires. We all want big paying jobs. But the reality is, if we all got the money we were manifesting and praying for, the question, like Hook said, how do I get started? I don't think we all know what to do with it. So it's huge to understand more about how to make money work for you. And I'm really excited about understanding that a lot better.
And I'll echo Rosalind's sentiments. With how to get started, it's just as simple as a Google search. It's Googling. If you're looking, if you have a doctor, right? Everybody needs a doctor. Everybody agrees, yes? So you need a doctor. You need a financial planner. Like I don't think as far as us as people, specifically to us as a people, it's not something that we're made aware of. But it's as simple as a Google search. If you've got X amount of dollars, and you don't have to have a lot of money. If you've got X amount of dollars and it's just sitting there in your savings account, it's just sitting there in your checking account, and it's looking to burn a hole in your pocket, you probably need a financial advisor. You probably need a financial planner, someone to assist you. So that's what I would say to get started. Look up financial planning. Look up a financial advisor in your area. Someone like Rosalind can sit down with you, have a 30-minute, hour consultation, and you've got some knowledge to move forward.
Definitely. That's actually some great information. And I love the 401k example, because anyone I think who has a 9-to-5 that offers 401k, we participate in it, but we don't look at that as an investment. I think most of us look at that as a retirement fund, or some people just something they can grab some money from when they need it, like borrowing loans against themselves and things like that. So that's really good information. And to Rome's point, is not something in the right.
we advise against that. We advise against that
right.
strongly.
Exactly. And to Rome's point, it's not something that we really talk about in the Black community, in terms of investing and things like that. We talk about money, sure enough, but we don't necessarily talk about how to make the money work for you. And I think that's the most important thing.
We're not taught, and it's not broken down to us. Like you said, 401k is always said to be your retirement. And I think the misconception is this is not your grandma's retirement. This is not Blue Cross and Blue Shields and the other companies' retirement and pension plan. Yes, it's money you can use when you retire, but this does not mean, 401k doesn't mean you're going to get a check every 2 weeks or once a month like we saw the older generations do. And I don't think we see it as an investment. I don't think we see these houses or real estate as an investment. It's me and Rosalind talked, and she said something, some major, it still sits with me. Changing your mindset, and you change the game. It's a mindset change. And I think that's the biggest part. Investing doesn't mean teach me how to buy a Whirlpool and hope I make $1 million in 6 weeks. It is a mindset change. And the minute we change our mindsets and how we think about it, the minute we start seeing stuff grow. And that's the biggest part of right now. That's why I'm so excited to have them here.
Right. And Crystal, I'm sorry, Ms. Took, I just wanted to add, because technically you could take your 401k and it could become your pension. That's really the idea. That's why you are saving money when you're young and you're generating and you're giving your dollars an assignment and you're telling this dollar that it's going to work for you in retirement. So when you put your money in a 401k, the idea is to save as much as you can now, because sometime in the future, you're going to then turn that 401k into an income stream, the income stream that you're currently working for. And so you're investing, you're buying stocks, you're buying bonds, you are buying it based on what your risk tolerance is. And we'll talk about that a little bit. And it just says, what can you stomach? Because the market is going to do what it does. The market is designed to go up and down. It's been doing that since its inception. We have good days and bad days in the market. The key to investing is to know what you're working for, what you're saving for, what you're investing for. And then when we know what your goal and objective is, then we determine how long or what type of product we need to put that in and what types of returns we can get on it based on how long you can invest. The key to investing, and I think I've said this before, Crystal, is to do it as early as you can, do it as consistently as you can, for as long as you can. And if you do that, the market has never in its history been down more than it's been up. If you look at the history of the market, it has never been down more than it's been up. So if you start saving and do that consistently over a long period of time, you're generally always going to outpace the market.
Good stuff. That's actually great information. And while we're talking about that, because in talking to certain people, they think that people who invest have an excess amount of money just lying around, which everybody doesn't always have it like that, right? So if I only have a small amount of money to invest, is investing even worth my time?
I'll take that one for Rosalind, if that's okay with you, and you can echo my sentiments. It doesn't matter the amount of money that you have. Any amount of money. I'll give you a perfect example. I had a friend of mine. He's never invested. He has a pretty solid job. He makes a modest amount of money a year. Somewhere, let's just say he's somewhere in between that $50,000 to $70,000 range. But he's awarded a bonus every single year. And he said, Jerome, every time that I get that bonus, I just stick it in my savings account. I don't know what to do with it. Sometimes we take the kids on a trip, and I ask them, why are you not investing? And he's like, well, my father, and this is, my father or my grandfather, they were some of our parents, some of our grandparents would say, they were born in a market where they experienced the Great Depression. So it's fine to, pillow stack money, to just save it, don't invest it.
Stack it, save it.
You're never gonna make your money work for you, as Rosalind said earlier. So is it worth it? I would say yes. The return, what we call ROI, the return on investment is always going to be greater investing that money into the market than it is saving. Just from a personal standpoint, the interest that you're going to receive, let's just call it interest. The interest that you're going to receive on investing your money, the return that you'll get on the interest will always outpace the money that you put into a savings account. Always. And Rosalind, I'll kick it over to you if you want to add on top of that.
Yes, I will add to that. When people ask me about that, what I say is you have to start. But I am a fan, and this is just my personal preference with all of my clients. You have to have at least 3 to 6 months worth of your monthly living expenses set aside in a regular savings account first. Because the difference in saving and investing is saving, you are guaranteed not to lose any of your principal. Investing, you can lose some of your principal. And that is the fear in our community, that we're going to lose it all. But if you invest wisely and you work with a financial advisor to help you talk about what your goals and your objectives are, and then they can help you to invest based on what your goals and objectives are. You can do that wisely, but you need to have a strong foundation. And for me, the foundation starts with having, actually now I've been saying to my clients, we got to get 6 to 9 months worth, because we were 2 weeks into COVID and people were panicking because they had nothing. And so we are now a year out, and some people are still being impacted by COVID. So I moved that number up for my clients and say, okay, we've got to work to have 6 to 9 months worth of your monthly living expenses in a savings account. And then once we get that, then the rest is where we start talking about investing and the bonuses that you get, any extra money that you get coming into your hand, you can then start investing that, because you know, we want to make sure, to Rome's point, you can't build wealth if you don't invest. You have to invest, and you can build a nice wealth or pool of money with $40,000. You don't have to be making 50, 60, 80, or 6 figures even. You can do that on a modest income as long as you do it consistently, as soon as you can, for as long as you can.
And just to echo Rosalind, it's, I think they'll go back to what she said. It's as long as you can, and people are going to, I'm going to say this, and again, I'm speaking specifically to our community. People are going to be like, you don't need a financial planner. Yes, you do. You need a financial planner. You need a financial professional, and some people call them advisors. That can get a little bit convoluted, and I don't want to go there, but just understand that you need someone like a Rosalind to help you with where to invest and put your money. I myself and my wife, we kind of told ourselves as, hey, we're great with savings, we're great with planning, and yes, we are, but we still have to have a financial advisor that we meet with on a quarterly and annual basis that lets us know that where we are. So you need someone like that, and they're going to tell you, hey, you're going to hear people, why are you going to do that? They charge you this fee, they charge you that fee, they're trying to take your money. I have, in the field that I am in, I support approximately 18,000 plus advisors. I can never tell you from a client that I have heard personally where they say, this advisor is taking my money. That rarely ever happens. That's a very low percentage, almost equivalent to how many people are trying to steal an election.
And here's, if I can add to that too, the reason you want to work with an advisor is because, you know, most of us, you know, we may start out with a 9-to-5 job. Most people do start out with a 9-to-5 job, and you start out contributing to your 401k. But what we do when we leave those jobs, we leave the 401ks. We don't know what happens to it. We hope that it's still being invested. We don't know. Well, that is the reason for having a financial advisor, because they can then advise you what is best to do with that. And I am a proponent of, you should always be in control of your money, because it's your money. You work for it. And if you leave it in the plan, it is subject to what the plan does. You have the opportunity to roll that to an IRA or to some other type of vehicle that can help you meet your goals, but you need to be in control of your money. You need to know what you want it to do for you, and then put it in places so it can work for you.
Definitely. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to investing from my talk with my circle, my group of friends, is that many people feel that you have to be in a certain tax bracket to invest or to see gains and things of that sort. So it's really refreshing to hear that from you guys. I really appreciate it. So, you know, we can tell our people, don't be afraid. You know, it's okay. You know what I mean? And now that we've established that investing is not just for the rich and famous, so what type of investments are available to the average person?
So that varies, and I'm sorry, Rome, you okay with me? That
No,
varies.
no, please, yeah.
That varies based on what your goals and objectives are, right? And again, shameless plug, why you need to be working with an advisor, because there's no one size fits all. It depends on what your goals and objectives are. It depends on if you are married with kids, if you're single and living the, life. All of those things matter. If you're talking to a financial advisor, I tell my clients all the time, I don't mind you shopping and talking to other people, because I am sure in what I do and confident in the advice that I give. And I kind of like a doctor, get a second opinion, talk to them. But here's what I say to them. If they are talking more than you are, then don't use them, because they should be asking you what your goals and objectives are, and then they should be quiet and listen. And then based on what you tell them you want to accomplish, they should be saying, oh yeah, this might work here or this might work there. But if they're talking more than you're talking, find somebody else.
So I do have a quick question, especially with what Hook was saying and what you both have mentioned thus far, about the investments available for an average person, and even is it a status or a social class or an income salary level you should be at. Some people feel they may be so low, you're in such a mess, your accounts are so bad, you know, you're negative, you don't have anything going on, you have to clean everything up before you go to an advisor. So with knowing which one's available, do you also need to be at a certain status? Like, should you already be together before you go to someone? Can I bring my mess to you and we clean it up? Because that also, like you said, your different status, you mentioned about what's available to people, if you're single, if you're married, but what about situations where you're divorced or you've done other things that got going on? Some people have some, it's kind of like if you have an alcohol problem, do I go to the help place when I'm drunk, or do I go when I clean myself up and see if they can help me?
Yeah, so here's what I'll say to that, because it varies again. Different advisors work differently with their clients. I have a personal goal to build at least 500 families that have a net worth, because that's really what we should be trying to build, of at least $250,000. So because of what I personally am trying to achieve, I will work with the person that's not all together, because you got to start somewhere. So you got to have a budget. Well, actually, if we back all the way up, you got to have income. You got to have a budget. You start with your emergency savings. Then you get life insurance in place. Then we start looking at the investing. Then we start looking at the legacy or the retirement planning. And then we start looking at what your legacy is going to be. So there is a process in my mind to building wealth. There is a process back to that mindset that we talked about. Doing all of the basic stuff first makes it easier to get to the investing side. So most people, and even now, we're talking about investing, and my phone has seemingly been blowing up with a lot of young millennials wanting to invest. And so when I first asked them, do you have, you know, your basics in order? If they don't have their basics in order, then I'm not even talking to them about investing. I'm talking to them about a budget and making sure that they are directing their money where it needs to go to sustain themselves now, because you can't put your money to risk if you can't afford to. Everybody's talking about, you know, GameStop and what happened. That was a fluke. It was a big fluke. It just happened. Some people got lucky, some people not so lucky, right? But you've got to have the basics in place. So the answer to your question, Crystal, is you've got to start with the basics. We can't get to the investing piece if you don't have that solid foundation, because investing is risky. And that is where a lot of our community gets into trouble, because we take on more risk than we really can afford. And then it sends us back to square zero, and we got to keep starting all over, and we can never get beyond the basics because we want things quickly.
You said a mouthful when you said budget, life insurance, investing, and then legacy. A quick term we always say is there's levels to this, and that's a level. You can't just say, hey, I got $1,000, can I flip it and make it $1 million? There's levels to where you have to go, because if you don't go to step 1 and 2 and you take that, I always talk about the whistle in Super Mario, and you skip up to this one, you haven't built yourself up to handle what you just jumped into. That's major, and knowing the steps is everything.
Yeah, and I'll add just my 2 cents onto that as well. I think that's what happens with us as far as a community of people. And Daryl, this happens to a lot of men that I know. They'll download set app to buy and purchase stocks, and they'll invest $2,000, $3,000, and then they lose it and that deters them from investing in the future, which again goes back to Rosalind's point as into why you need a financial investor. You can't just always think that, hey, because I saw what happened with GameStop, I'm now going to go in and invest and buy X amount of shares, and then I lose it, and now I'm no longer investing because I lost that money. You're playing with how you got to play with house's money. You got to, you know what I'm saying? You got to make sure, like you said, everything's and all your ducks are in a row first before you got X amount of cash to invest. So that, I think that happens to a lot of us. And if that's anybody that's out there, that's why that's happening. You need someone to help you structure your investments.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. This is all very, very, very powerful and very helpful information, because you're absolutely correct. You know, you're stepping on some toes, mine's included. When it comes to the reality check that we don't like to hear, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not going to come overnight. It's a lifetime situation. And what I love that you all said was, before we, you know, jump over to the next parts and all this other information, it's never too late to start. We like to think that housekeeping and financial advisors and certain things are only for the rich. No, financial advising is for the wise. And if you say yourself is smart, then that's a big one. So getting a financial advisor is for the wise, regardless you are the wise and broke, or you're the wise and rich, or you're the wise and in between. And it's also levels to it. You're not going to jump in and make $1 million, but you will look up in the end and have what you're looking for when you need it. And like I told Rosalind, you can leave your kids more than a potted plant and memories. And I think that's a biggie.
Yeah. And to go back, and we can move on to the next topic. To go back to that, the types of investments, a really good financial professional is going to sit down with you once you've done 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they're going to set goals for you. And you get to have that conversation about, hey, I'm looking to grow growth with income. I'm looking to be aggressive because I've got a little bit more. A good financial planner is going to have those types of conversations with you, so then you'll know the types of investments to make.
That's right.
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of people get frustrated because when they start investing, they want that instant gratification, like they want it now. And if they don't start seeing that progress or that return soon enough, they get frustrated and want to back out. We've been talking for about 25 minutes now, right? And one word that keeps coming up is risk. I've heard it, like, I think everybody has mentioned it at some point. So what I want to ask is, what is risk tolerance? Why is risk tolerance important? And how can I figure out what mine is?
So I'll take that. I'm sorry. I was going to say, I'll take that. And risk tolerance basically is what you can stomach from the market, is kind of how I say. So if you are a very aggressive risk taker, you're not going to flip out if you look at your account, you put $1,000 in, and then you look at it, in the next quarter, because you shouldn't be really looking at it every day, but you look at it at the end of the quarter, and maybe it's down to $950 as opposed to that $1,000. You're not going to flip out and pull your money out of the investment because you see it down, because you understand how the market works, versus somebody that is just really what we call risk averse, meaning that you can't stomach any loss at all. We need to put you in something very conservative, because, and I have clients that they will drive me crazy. They will call me, because the market is down. When the market goes down, your account value is going to go down. But we're investing for long term. This is your retirement. You got 15 more years for this to do this. So let's just sit tight and ride it out. We've invested it for long term. Now, that's where it comes in. Your risk tolerance is what you can stomach. And there's about 6 different risk tolerances that we use, all the way from very conservative to very aggressive. And it is relative to the person, which is why when you're talking to your friends and the guys are sitting around, you're going to have some people that are risk takers. They are just that by nature. That's what they do. You're going to have other people who are not risk takers. They're a little bit more conservative and methodical, and based on how they do things, it's how they live their lives. So then we're going to be investing them that way. everybody's risk tolerance is not the same. And the importance of knowing what someone's risk tolerance is as an advisor helps me to decide where to put their money. And how to, as we say, diversify their portfolio. Because if you are a risk taker, we can probably put you in 100% stocks because your portfolio is going to be, going up. The greater the risk, the greater the reward is how we say it, right? And so if you want to see a greater return, you might have to take on more risk. But for somebody that's doing it over the long term, then we want to be stable and steady. So risk tolerance is what you can stomach as an individual, and what you can stomach is different, Hook, than what Crystal can stomach, right? And so it's relative to you and what you are trying to accomplish, which is why you got to have the conversation.
Yep. Rosalind hit it right on the head. You have to answer the second part of that question. How can I figure out, what is mine? From a personal perspective, I'm conservative. So I'm gonna put all my money in stocks. I'm gonna look into mutual funds. I'm gonna look at index funds. I'm gonna look at different types of investments. I like the long game. I'm okay with taking a hit, but I'm 37 years old. I've got another, good 30 years that I could possibly work, before I retire. So I'm looking at the long game of it. I'm not going to invest all of my money in stocks because as Rosalind mentioned earlier, you have these two things. They're called a bear market and a bull market. Literally the bear, the animal, and the bull market. They're always going to be at odds, but that bull market 9 times out of 10 is going to win, as Rosalind mentioned earlier as well. Even with me knowing that, I am still more of the bear. I like the bear because I think about it in the concept of he hibernates. He eats for a long period of time and he goes and hibernates for, X amount of months out of the year. So I'm more conservative. Daryl may be more of a risk taker. If he's first getting in, some people are a little bit more antsy. They want to see that money come in. So, and that's the other thing too about having a financial advisor. You can adjust them. You don't have to stay aggressive. Once you retire, there's no need for you to be aggressive with your growth. You can just do growth, modularly or moderate growth. So there's different, like she mentioned, there's 6 different ones that typically we talk about that you can kind of decide, but that's really on the person to figure out, how they want to bear their risk tolerance.
All right, good stuff. And I heard someone mention about diversifying our portfolios, right? So I keep hearing it's crucial to be diversified, but what exactly does that mean, and why is that even important?
So I'll start here too. It's kind of like people say you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And so you don't want to have all of your money sitting in a cash account because you're not going to earn anything on that. But by the same token, you don't want all your money sitting in stocks because the risk is going to be too high. And so when we start talking about diversifying, we're saying spread it around to the different types of assets that are available. So is it a large cap stock or a mid cap stock or a small cap stock? Is it real estate? Is it cash? Because I'm a proponent that everybody needs some of their portfolio in cash because you need it to be accessible to you for those emergency type situations. And so when we start talking about diversifying, we're saying to spread it across the different asset classes that are available to you to invest in. And mostly we're talking about whether it's a stock or a bond or a fixed asset. As when we talk about bonds, we're talking about fixed assets, something that is going to help you, not to lose your money. I'd like to say when we talk about bonds, you can think about you lending your money to a company. So you're making a loan to the company and the company is saying, we're going to give you back interest. So they're going to pay you back interest, which is what you will earn. Versus when we talk about stocks, we're saying, you know what, I'm going to give you my money, company, and I'm going to count on you to do good jobs or do good things for this company to grow the value of the money that I'm giving you. So that's the difference in a stock or a bond, and having a mixture of stocks and bonds helps to diversify your portfolio.
Yeah, just to echo what she said exactly. That's exactly what it is. Being diversified, excuse me, I can't talk. A municipal bond as well. If you're not looking again to lose money, maybe bonds is a way. There's so many different ones. With our particular company that I work with, they have what they call strategic asset management portfolios. So that portfolio is a combination of different stocks, different bonds, as you mentioned, assets. Let me take a step back because I don't want to confuse anybody. What you want to do as well is kind of look at what we call products. Product offerings are, again, different products that are offered that you can invest in. And then you can also look at different types of portfolios and or that you want to have. You know, you want to have a strategic asset management portfolio. Do you want to have a strategic wealth management portfolio? And those are a little bit higher on the, the end as far as what you're looking to invest. But you've got to take a step back. And as again, I know probably some of this is maybe going over someone's head and they're like, this is too much. Again, goes back to our initial point. That's why you need someone like Rosalind. There's no way that you're going to figure all of this stuff out. They have the certifications that they need in order to provide you the information that you need. But to sum it up, to be diversified is exactly what it's spreading your money across several different avenues. When my stocks go down, okay, that's great, but I've got bonds over here that are holding. I've got cash that's available over here. Like, that's what you want. You want it to be spread throughout so you feel comfortable no matter what happens.
I love how you guys keep mentioning that it's important to have a financial advisor. It's important to have a financial counselor. If we're ever going to get out of the mindset that we don't know how to invest or we don't know how to do things, if we ever want to get into the mindset of we want to build generational wealth, if we want to get college education, we got to go to college and get taught by professional teachers. If you ever want to get a high school diploma, you got to go to a school and let a teacher teach you. If you're ever going to get to generational wealth, we are going to have to start utilizing financial advisors. It's just no way around it.
I will, and I'll say this, Crystal, and that's a really good point. What most people don't realize, they look at someone like a Jeff Bezos and they look at someone like a Warren Buffett. Do you know how they accumulated that wealth? They invested their money. It wasn't because of a company that they started up. Most of people that are truly wealthy, transitional wealth 10 times over, they invest their money into the market. They invest. That's how you create that wealth.
That's a biggie because that goes up to the next question, which is a big one that I've been waiting to ask since like 2 minutes in. Net worth. Rosalind and I had a conversation about net worth. We all love to Google what's T.I.'s net worth, or what's Warren Buffett's net worth, or when we heard the versus battle and there was someone talking, we were like, well, what's this person's net worth versus that one? But you never think about, well, what's Cook's net worth, what's Crystal's net worth, or what's Jerome's net worth, or what's Rosalind's net worth, because we don't figure if they're not a celebrity, then there's not a net worth to look at. But we all have a net worth. And just like to Jerome's point just now, your net worth is not what's just sitting in your bank account. It is your investment. And we don't think about that. So the net worth conversation, get into
it. So I like to say here, when we talk about net worth, the way I describe it to clients is if you take everything that you own, which is considered an asset, house, cars, bank accounts, everything that you own, and you sell it, and you pay off everything that you owe, which is a liability. Those are considered your liabilities. You pay off everything you owe. What is it that you have left?
Ooh.
That is your net worth. So when you hear people talking about what someone's net worth is, and you hear them saying, they got $1 billion net worth, that just means if they take everything they own and sell it, pay off everything they owe, they still got billions of dollars left to do whatever it is that they want to do. And I said that my goal, $250,000, is an average net worth or a reasonable, let me say, net worth that I think, particularly our community, because we don't have it. we normally have negative net worths, right? And so, you know, if $250,000 is really a low amount to try to achieve, but it is my goal to try to get 500 families that just have a minimum of $250,000 in net worth. And when we think about the generational wealth that we can build based off of that, because that's what you pass on. That's where the legacy comes in at. That's where, you know, when we talk about life insurance, you know, in buying life insurance now, while you're young and in good health and don't have high blood pressure and cholesterol and diabetes, buying it now to be able to pass it on to generations later on. And you can do so much more with life insurance other than just bury me, which is what our community thinks about life insurance, just something to bury me with. But that helps to build net worth. And so to your point, Crystal, net worth is just having what is it that you have that is going to be your legacy when you leave here. And we got to start thinking about that. You know, Big Mama and them left us the houses. Most of our families, they left us houses. They left us property. Now, what they didn't know that messed us all up is they put 10 people on the deed and left it to all 10 of us. And ain't but one of us wanting to do the right thing and nobody else wants to do the right thing. And so then the property gets put in foreclosure. Somebody goes to the tax sale and buy it. And then we've lost the value. So, you know, but even back then, they had the wherewithal to leave something. That was their net worth. They worked hard to pay off their property, to leave it for their children and their children's children. And we, the children's children, are not being good stewards over what was left to us. And now we're facing the challenges in our community that we see.
That's major, because it makes you think about if you sell everything you have and you pay off everything that you owe, like the $70,000 and the $80,000 in student loans and all those different things, we don't consider what our net worth is, because again, it's not about, even though we hear cash is king, it doesn't matter what's in your bank account, because if you have $30,000 in your bank account, but you owe $2 million in debt, you have a negative net worth.
That's
Especially
right.
if you have nothing to sell, like an asset, like a house, like an investment that can offset some of that stuff. If you don't have a business that can pay off your debt, then you really have a negative net worth. And we don't think about that. And if we do die and you do pay off the burial, then what supplements that income for your family when you're not there?
Mm-hmm.
That's where that and that potted plant come from. I don't want that plant. It's time to have this conversation.
Yeah, which is why we have to think about I'm going to digress a little bit here, but we've got to think about life insurance more than just something to bury me with, right? Life insurance has to be able to replace income. If you're in a 2-income household and one of those income goes away, can you still sustain and maintain the household? Most times, no, because we are living above our means, or at least right at our means, and it takes both of those incomes to manage what we have. So you've got to think about life insurance to replace an income, and not just for 1 year, but maybe for 3 or 4 or 5 years, depending on whether or not you've got children. And so we've got to start thinking differently and educating ourselves on ways to use life insurance, ways to position our assets that we have, ways that we can save. Because I like to use this example, and it's a small example, but think about it. A cup of Starbucks coffee costs $5, right? Mm-hmm. If we buy a cup of Starbucks coffee Monday through Friday, that's $25 a week, right? It's 4 weeks in a month. That's $100 a month. And all we've done is drank a cup of coffee every day. It's 12 months in a year. That's $1,200 in a year. And all we've done is drank a cup of coffee. What if you took that same $1,200, put it in an investment, and earned 4 or 5 or 6% interest on that annually? That's how you build wealth. We've got to start thinking differently about what we do with our money. And listen, it's not about how much you make, because we can, we brag about 6 figures and we getting paid and we making bank and don't have nothing to show for it. No net worth to show for it. And so we've got to, back to the mindset, we've got to change our mindset, and we've got to start thinking net worth. What am I worth? What am I worth to myself and to my family? What am I worth?
Can I add a personal note on that?
Rethink their whole lives right now by asking them that net worth conversation.
And I just want to add something that Rosalind said as well, and this is a perfect way to think about it. And I'll use Daryl as an example as well, because he mentioned earlier that he's getting married. So I'm married, right? And I'm in the process of buying a home. I'm in the process of actually building a new home, right? Let's say, I'm just going to give you a raw number. Let's say that my house is $25,000. Of course, there's no way in the world. You can buy a house at $25,000.
We all can buy a new house. We got a $25,000 house.
Yeah. Let's just say it's $100,000. Okay, I bought a house for $100,000. I have an insurance policy. One of my insurance policies that I have on myself is the exact value of the home that I purchased. So if I leave this earth, my wife can take one insurance policy and now she has paid the home off. That's how we have to start thinking. You've got to start thinking like that. So then, of course, I have other insurance policies that will supplement my income so that she can leave, so that she can still continue to live and lead my son onto a better life. But that's how we've got to start thinking. When we go back, we can talk about investments all day, but if you don't have those 4 principles in place, as far as budgeting, money saved, and insurance policy, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And the kind of insurance policies matter too. I don't think we really understand insurance policies. It's nice to have the ones that the jobs offer, but knowing what kind of insurance policy is a major one, not just ones that you get so if your job ends, your policy ends, but policies that last and can hold over, and difference between whole life and term life and all those different things, because insurance salesmen can sell you a quote quickly. But if you don't know what type of policy you have, you don't know what you're getting into.
No, I agree. And I'll echo Rosalind's sentiments earlier as well. You've got to not only understand that, and one thing Rosalind mentioned earlier, and I'll say this as well. There's different types of insurance policies. There's whole and there's term. You can't get into the thing of, because this is something that I even experienced, that whole and borrowing from your whole, borrowing off of your insurance, because those types of things mess us up. You've got to look back and say, okay, does it make sense for me to get a 25-year term policy? Hey, if something happens to me at that 25 years and I got a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 policy, maybe that's the route. But that's why you've got to sit down with a financial advisor, a financial professional, to kind of help you through those types of things. But don't borrow from your insurance. That's the
difference between the two, Rome. The difference between the whole and the term life. A lot of people have no idea. They know the terms whole and term, but people really don't know the difference in the benefits of either or.
So can I jump in here?
Please.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of echo what Rome was saying in terms of the types of policies, and we don't sell life insurance policies as an investment. You don't do that. If you're looking to invest, then a life insurance policy is probably not what you want to do. A life insurance policy is to be used to take care of a need. As Rome said, he's got his mortgage. He wants his family to make sure they have a roof over their head if something happens to him. So then you can get a term policy. At that point, the mortgage is 30 years. So you get a 30-year term policy for the cost of the mortgage. Once the mortgage is paid off, you no longer need that policy. And I'll go a little bit further, a permanent policy, because it's actually the difference between term insurance and permanent insurance. Whole life is a type of permanent insurance, just like a universal life or a variable universal life. Those are types of permanent coverages that you can have for the whole of your life. The difference in the whole life policy and the variable or universal life policies is that the whole life policy, you have to pay the whole of your life. no matter how long you live, if it's 120, you've got to pay that premium for 120 years. You can pay it for 119 years and stop paying it before that 120th, and you will not have any coverage. So the whole life policy, you got to pay the whole of your life. Well, in comes now universal life policies or variable universal life policies that have a growth component attached with them. And they have what they call flexible premium paying policies that you can pay those policies for a certain period of time. And because a part of or a portion of that premium is being invested, at some point, you may not have to continue paying that premium because of the investment on that policy, and it will pay for itself so that you don't have to pay it the whole of your life. You can pay it flexibly and based on what the market is doing because a part of it is being invested. But I'll go back to what Rome said in the beginning, talking with a financial advisor. And I want to make sure that you understand a financial advisor is different than an insurance salesperson. They're not the same. They're not the same. And there's no, I want to be careful not to appear as if I'm saying there's no value in life insurance salesmen, because there are, or salespeople, because there are, but you want to make sure that you are talking with someone licensed that can help you think through and understand the rules, because the rules change every day. I am licensed, y'all. And I have to maintain my licenses every year by making sure I am trained and getting my continuing education courses, because the rules change. And so we have to keep up with that. And I'm telling you, it's difficult for me, somebody that's been in this business 15 years. And so I know the average person can't keep up with it all.
Yeah. And I saw a question in the chat. I think it came from, I can't remember the young lady's name, but she asked a question as far as she currently has her home. She only has her work insurance policy. Should she get another insurance policy? Yes. Should I get another insurance policy? I would say a personal recommendation. I can't again provide financial advice, Alexander. I would say yes. You would want a separate insurance policy besides your job's insurance policy. There's several different reasons as to why I recommend that, but the short answer is yes.
Absolutely, because your work policy generally ends at some point. And if you're not working, then you're not covered. And at a minimum, everybody should have a minimum amount of coverage outside of what you have on your job. I am a strong proponent of everybody having a minimum permanent policy outside of your job, because it'll, if you're not working, then you don't have it. And if you work at the job, 30 years and you get ready to retire, that coverage is going to change. And now you're 65 or 67 and you got high blood pressure and you can't even qualify for another policy. So get the policies while you're young and in good health, and pay them over time, and use the flexibility that comes with the different types of policies to build wealth.
It's amazing that you guys are saying so many different things. Jerome, the same person mentioned in there until you said it, and Rosalind, you definitely echoed it for him, that a lot of people don't know you can have multiple policies. So like you were saying, different ones. People, it's just a lot of things, just educate them in general. So with the knowing that you can have multiple policies, Jerome, you echoed on that when you talked about having one for the house, and then having one to make sure they're good, and having one to make sure it covers expenses. Rosalind, you hit on the nail on the head about talking about having the term policy that may cover the term that you have to pay the house off. So when the house is paid off, you might not need that anymore. But it's important to not just have the one from your job, but have a whole permanent one that covers you for the whole part of your life. Pay it until you're gone. Don't stop, because if you stop, it stops. But knowing what kind of policies, knowing how many you can have, but again, knowing your situation and knowing what's best for you is going to be huge. But again, from the 6 to 9 months of saving, to the 401ks, to the life insurance policies, to the quarterly and annually, talking to advisors, to the risk tolerance, that is a whole lot. But what we all have heard numerous times today is whether you're rich, poor, successful, struggling, in a great position, or in a I have no idea what to do position, consider getting you a financial advisor, because it's not for us to know everything unless we are taught properly and guided the right way. Here's what I want to do. This is what my life looks like today, what I want to look at later. Help me make this happen.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that, go ahead, Ron.
No, and I was going to say, with an individual, and I'll use Rosalind as an example because she's joining us, but there are going to be different financial advisors, guys, that can offer you different things. So again, you've got to look at, their licensing, looking at what you're trying to do and find out if that is a good fit. But you got to start somewhere. You got to sit down with somebody and start somewhere. And then as you continue to grow, if they're not offering the types of products, then you can always, you're not obligated to stay with any financial advisor, but you've got to start with someone. You've got to sit down with someone and have that conversation. And just to really quickly say, it's uncomfortable. I know, as far as the people, we may talk about money, but we don't really want to let anybody enter our finances. It can be uncomfortable, but once you get to a comfortable state, you're going to call them frequently and ask them about different things about your particular portfolio. But you've got to get over that hump. Like we've got to get over that as a people.
That's
Certainly.
big, Ron. And I hope that we really do push that in the community, that it's important to have that uncomfortable conversation. We all grew up with, you don't tell nobody what you got. Don't tell nobody your money. Don't tell nobody your business. But if you don't get on the phone and talk to somebody, your business is going to end when you die, because there's no education on what to do with it. And like you said, we all want to be able to brag about what we have. But Rosalind made such a valid point when we first had our conversation. She said there are people who make $45,000 a year with six-figure net worths. And there are people who make six figures that are half a paycheck away from poverty. So do not let your salary make you feel like you are doing something different, because whether you are making a modest or a $1 million one, you still can be on the top of the top or the bottom of the bottom. It's an education thing. It's a mindset, and that's going to be big. So you guys have been amazingly awesome.
Absolutely. And to Crystal's point, I think that the average person is really on, I don't care how much money we have in our bank accounts, but only a minor catastrophe away from being in a whole heap of trouble. If something were to happen, your house can burn down, floods, anything can happen. So that's why these types of conversations are important. And I think that people genuinely want to do better, but the fact is, a lot of us, we just don't know.
Right.
And that's why I'm glad that Crystal and I wanted to start these types of things, so we can at least begin the conversation. It's uncomfortable, but these are conversations that we have to have. And when you know better, you do better.
You do better.
But before we close, and again, Rome, Rosalind, you guys have been phenomenal. I really appreciate you. We want you to give the audience, just leave us with some nuggets, some words of wisdom. What are some takeaways that you want to leave the audience with? And Rosalind, ladies first, we'll go ahead and start with you.
So thank you all again for having me tonight. I've really enjoyed the conversation. And if I can leave you with anything, I will leave you with this. Get started. Be intentional about giving your money an assignment. Every dollar that comes into your hand, you should tell it what you want it to do for you. This dollar will pay the mortgage. This dollar is going to retirement. This dollar might buy me a pair of shoes. You can still do those kinds of things, but do it within reason. Do it within what you have the means to do it with. And we need to start thinking about building a legacy for our children's children. We should not leave the earth realm with people having to figure out where everything is. Get it in order. COVID has exposed us in so many ways, our community in particular. And I am imploring, I am begging, I am strongly urging all of you to be intentional about where your financial matters are, where your insurance policies are. If you don't have them, get them, and making sure that your beneficiaries are even correct on the policies that you do have, and making sure that you are being in control of what your money, what you want it to do for you. It is doable. no matter what level of income you are on. And as we have said, work with a financial advisor to help achieve your goals.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rosalind.
I want to say also, thank you so much, Daryl. Thank you so much, Crystal, for having me. It was a pleasure. I always love chatting with you guys. Look forward to the next opportunity. To keep it 100% real, guys, I've been, as I mentioned, I've been in learning and development. I've been in the financial services space for a long time, but I've been in learning and development longer. So I always tell my participants and attendees, if you leave with one thing, then I've done my job. And start the conversation about getting a financial advisor. So that's what I will leave you with. You're no way, in no shape, going to be an expert in this particular field unless you want to go get a Series 7, a Series 24, and I can go on and on and on type of certification. We're not that advanced as far as us as a people to learn that type of information this far along in our lives. So you need someone that can help you along the way. If you really are tired of leaving enough to bury someone, as Rosalind mentioned, then you need to sit down with a financial advisor so they can tell you where to put your money. That's really my advice. Sit down with someone, talk with someone. You can always reach out to me. I can point you in the direction of a couple. I'm probably going to send you to Rosalind first. But you got to sit down with somebody and talk someday. So thank you guys again so much for having me.
You're welcome. And guys, I have like a page full of notes right here. So this has been very interesting because we may be the hosts, but we want to learn as well. That's why we wanted to bring you some individuals who can really share their expertise and that we can all learn from. So don't be surprised if you guys get the call again and come back on, because we will be continuing this throughout the year. Again, this has been phenomenal. Crystal, what are we talking about next week?
Listen, I don't want to talk about nothing next week because I got to figure out my net worth. But I am ridiculously excited. Alexander, we are definitely going to send notes in the Get Hooked All-Stars chats, because one of the biggest things that we said from the beginning is that Money Mondays was to teach our communities to do better and to be better. We are going to cut out the idea of I didn't know and no one ever taught me, because not being taught is an excuse at this point when there's so many platforms for us to learn from. If like I said, Jerome and I have been friends for almost 20 years. Rosalind, you are a friend of a friend. We have too many connections in this world to say I didn't know. We have too many opportunities out here. We've done a Money Monday about budgeting, about investing, about credit. We're going to do one about mortgage in May. And then through the rest of the year, every first Monday is going to be something money related up until the end of the year. But we might pull everybody from Money Mondays back and say, hey, just a recap. Let's talk through this and see where people are. Because at the end of the day, we can talk about anything in the world that we want to on this platform, but we are going to leave you with a gem and an option. And you can always go back to YouTube to rewatch those options, hear Jerome's name, hear Rosalind's name, or anyone else. We can go back and talk to these people, because we need to do better and we will be better from it. So next week, we're talking about body shaming versus preference. Hook had a post about it, and I was like, now that's a good topic, because I may like what I like, doesn't mean I'm shaming it. Because even though we have the money conversations, Hook and I like to also have the other uncomfortable conversations that we need to make comfortable. Start talking about the things that we don't like to talk about, from labels to relationships to love to life to just general things. So again, body shaming versus preference is what we're definitely going to hit with next week. But before you do that next week, get your grandmas, get your uncles, get your cousins, get your kids, get everybody together and go back and review these Money Mondays. We've been taught some real strange habits for very different reasons, because generations saw different things. It is time now that we make the uncomfortable conversations comfortable. Talk to advisors. Talk to your families. Look at your budgets. Check your habits. Because if we leave these next generation of children with the gems we taught today, that Forbes is going to look like a crayon box.
Absolutely. And our primary objective is to leave our kids and our kids' kids and leaving their kids better off than we are right now. So again, Rosalind, I really appreciate you. Rome, I appreciate you as well. Any information, any literature, any websites you guys have, share that with us. We want to promote you guys as well, and we want to support you also. But this has been a phenomenal conversation. I feel tons better because I feel that I've learned a whole lot, you know, and this is what it's all about. Each one reach one. So this has been great. Crystal, my dog, I appreciate you. And this has been great, man. Make sure you guys tune in next week. We'll make sure that we bring you some more valuable content. So again, we'll be signing off now. And thank you guys for everything you do.
Good night, everybody. I'm gonna post your site for the Wealth Advisors group on my Facebook so that everyone knows how to contact and reach